Ntokozo Mayenzi Xaba, who was 20 years old at the time of her untimely death, was born and raised in Newcastle of KwaZulu-Natal, South Africa. She was born on the 12th of February 2002 to mother Tolakele Xaba and father Nduduzi Xaba. Her childhood was filled with laughter, love, and happiness, but sadly, due to unforeseen circumstances, her mother died when she was just a little child. Ntokozo grew up in a warm and happy home, surrounded by a big family of sisters and brothers. One of her cousins would later say they grew up together since Ntokozo was about 6 months old until they grew older and matriculated from high school. She started her academic journey at Lennox Primary School, where she proved to be an extremely smart individual as she excelled at everything she set her mind to, be it books or extramural activities like sport. Ntokozo would grow up to be a kind and loving individual who was loved by everyone she came across. Once she was done with primary school, she went on to attend Newcastle High School, where she was an A student throughout her high school years. While in high school, Ntokozo met a guy who would soon change her life, and not in a positive way. His name was Ncebo Tusi, who was 3 years her senior. Ncebo was a rugby player at school, and Ntokozo was taken with him. The two quickly became close, and a romantic relationship soon started between the two. Ncebo would soon graduate from high school and decide to travel to Pretoria and enroll in TUT, that's Tshwane University of Technology, where he registered to study chemical engineering. As he played rugby in high school, he decided to continue with the sport in tertiary and joined the Blue Bulls rugby team. Ntokozo soon after also graduated from high school and also decided to move to Pretoria, where she enrolled at TUT to study integrated communications. Her dream was to study towards obtaining her PhD, so she had big goals to be achieved. With her home miles and miles away, Ntokozo sought residence at TUT's Ekhaya Junction off-campus residence that was located not far from TUT campus, where she attended her classes. Ntokozo and Ncebo's relationship continued, but it soon turned into something completely different from what Ntokozo had thought it would be. Ncebo became possessive, and the relationship quickly turned volatile. He was controlling and abused her verbally and physically. Ntokozo did not tell anyone about the abuse she suffered at the hands of Ncebo. Her family and friends had no idea of what was happening to their beautiful loved one. She kept it all hidden. From a distance, they looked like a happy couple, but Ntokozo was slowly growing tired of Ncebo's abusive nature. 2 years into her studies and 1 year shy of graduating, Ntokozo decided that no more. She was done with the abusive relationship, so she broke up with Ncebo. Ncebo couldn't accept the breakup, however. He had no intention of moving on with his life without Ntokozo, so he did everything he could think of to get her back. That involved stalking Ntokozo. He would randomly show up everywhere she went, be it out with friends, even showing up at her place of residence, where she considered to be a safe place for her. He would show up and ask to speak to her in an attempt to ask her to take him back. She would refuse every time, but he was so persistent that he just couldn't get the message. This, of course, upset and spooked Ntokozo to the point where every time he showed up at the residence, she would go stay with a friend in an attempt to get away from him. She even went to report him to the police, but that proved to be not helpful because the police didn't take her seriously. The academic year was soon to be over and holidays came. Ntokozo went back to KZN Newcastle to visit her family and friends and finally get the break she so desperately needed from Ncebo's constant harassment. She enjoyed her time with her family, but just as quick as the holidays came, they went, and it was time to go back to school. Of course, Ntokozo dreaded this, but had hopes that Ncebo had finally moved on. It was the start of a new year, and Ntokozo and her friends hadn't seen each other in a while, so on the 1st of February, the friends organized a get-together at the residential building they were staying. They got together and had fun. Xaba and his friend decided to join in on the fun and join Ntokozo and her friends. Later on, Xaba's friends decided to leave and left Xaba with Ntokozo and her friends. Just before midnight, Xaba asked to speak to Ntokozo alone and asked her friends to give them some privacy, to which they hesitated. Ntokozo, however, told them it was okay, that they can leave, and they reluctantly left the two alone. Xaba allegedly left Ntokozo's room in the early hours of the 2nd of February. Ntokozo's friends, soon after leaving her with Xaba, sent her messages asking if everything was okay, but got no answers. Early in the morning, they tried calling her and still couldn't get a hold of her. That's when they decided to go check on her to see if she was okay. They knocked and knocked on her room door and got no answer. Then they saw blood on the handle of the door. That's when panic set in, and they went to the resident security to ask them to open the door. When they managed to get the door open, they saw a sight before them that left a permanent mark in their memory. Ntokozo was tucked in bed with sheets covered in her blood. They immediately called the police and the ambulance. When emergency services arrived, they pronounced Ntokozo dead on the scene. Ntokozo was stabbed multiple times and died from her wounds. It was soon uncovered that Xaba was the last person to have seen Ntokozo, and the police set on to find him and question him about what happened. They found him in his place of employment and arrested him on suspicion of murder. Ntokozo's family were devastated about the news of her passing. Her father was distraught to the point of which he couldn't walk. It was horrible, horrible news. They couldn't believe it. They were inconsolable. They couldn't believe that their beautiful and intelligent Ntokozo wasn't ever coming home. Her family said she just wanted to be great. She wanted to have a nice life for herself. Ntokozo's cousin said, "What I'll miss about her is her honesty, love, and care. She cared about others, and she would put others before her. She loved her siblings." A memorial service and a night vigil was held for Ntokozo at the TUT campus, and emotions were high at the service, which was attended by students dressed in black t-shirts with Ntokozo's face printed on them. It was very emotional. Xaba Tusi made his first appearance in Pretoria Magistrates Court on the 13th of February 2023. He abandoned bail after students said if he would be released on bail, they would stone him to death. It's still an ongoing case.